Hey guys, and welcome back to Teal House Farm. It is Canning Pantry Tuesday, so let's make some delicious dinner from the Canning Pantry. And tonight's featured item, we are going to make a pear and pumpkin cobbler for dessert, and it's going to be really good. And it's going to be a great way to get a little taste of fall. This is last year's pumpkin that I canned, and it's great for making pumpkin pie and pumpkin bread. And tonight we're going to make a pear and pumpkin cobbler. You will notice that I did can my pears with the skins on. That does not bother me. Some people say it makes the texture gritty. I don't feel like it does. You can use either your peeled or unpeeled pears for this, whatever you prefer. And for dinner tonight, we're gonna have some beef stew. So I'm gonna open 2 quarts of beef stew. I'm going to add some peas to this just to make it go a little bit farther. But it's gonna be a really simple dinner, and I'm gonna grab some bread out of the freezer. So super easy. It's gonna be really delicious, and I'm really looking forward to this dessert. So let's get everything going. Okay, so first thing we need to do is get an apron on, just in case we get a little sticky while we're making this. We're gonna get the food processor down and work on the crumble topping for the cobbler. If you don't have a food processor, don't worry. You can always mash this together with your fingers or a pastry cutter, whatever you have on hand. We're gonna put in a stick of butter broken up into some chunks. Then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of white sugar and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, followed by a 1/4 cup of oats, and these need to be your old-fashioned oats, and 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. We're gonna add about a teaspoon of salt, and then 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Then we're gonna get the lid on, and we're gonna pulse it for just a few times, maybe 10 seconds, to get it all mashed together into nice little crumbles. And it looks like that. We can set this aside for a minute. Let's go ahead and get the base of our cobbler ready. So I drain a quart of pears, and then a quart's worth, so 2 pints of pumpkin. I have a little helper who wants to help me, so we'll get her all set up to help. We'll get her an apron so her dress doesn't get all dirty. We're gonna bake this in a 13 by 9 pan. And I don't have one that's clean right now, so I'm gonna actually use this aluminum pan. But whatever kind of pan you use, you're gonna wanna butter the bottom so your pears and pumpkin don't stick to the bottom. So we're gonna do that real quick with a stick of butter. And then we're gonna start putting in our fruit. So first thing, I do the pears. Again, I used unpeeled pears. You can use peeled pears if you prefer. And then we're gonna put our pumpkin on top. And then we're gonna kind of mix that together. Now, I should have gone through and cut those pumpkin chunks smaller. It would have blended and helped with the texture, but I was feeling kind of lazy today, so I didn't bother. And then I felt like that didn't look like quite enough, so we put another quart of pears on top, because remember, it will bake down. Then we're gonna put about a 1/4 cup of sugar on top of that mixture, a couple tablespoons worth of cornstarch, a teaspoon of ginger. And we're gonna mix that together a little bit. And then we're ready to put our crumble topping on top of this. We wanna make sure we get it all the way around over all the pieces of pear and pumpkin so it bakes nice and evenly. And use it all. I know it seems like a lot, but trust me, it's the best part of the cobbler. Okay, it's ready to go. I have the oven preheated to 350, and we're just gonna slide it on the top rack there, and we're gonna let it cook about 40 minutes until it's nice and bubbly. Before we get started on the beef stew part, I wanna just clean up a little bit so I can stay ahead of the kitchen mess. So we get some of the ingredients put away. We're gonna do some dishes real quick. I hate having a huge mess after I'm done cooking dinner, because it just feels like you did all that work to make dinner, and then there's so much work waiting for you. So get a head start by doing some of the dishes real quick while that cobbler is cooking. Then to make the beef stew, we get out my smallest stock pot I have, and we're gonna dump in 2 quarts of our home canned beef stew. And then I add about a quart of water, and I'm gonna add a bag of frozen peas. I believe this is a 12-ounce bag. The beef stew's already been salted and peppered and seasoned how I liked it, so I don't have to worry about any of that. Just kind of dump it all in there. Then we're gonna head outside real quick and see what kind of bread we have in our freezer. I like to buy bread at Walmart when they have it you know, with those yellow stickers on them. It says it's marked down to, you know, 80 cents or whatever, so it's real cheap. And I just throw them in the freezer until a day like today when I don't feel like making bread, and I can just throw it in the oven real quick. I mixed up some flour and water in a slurry to add to our beef stew so that it can be a little bit thicker. Mix that in. I let it cook about 10 minutes. I brought it to a boil and then let it simmered. And then we're gonna put the bread in the oven with the cobbler just to unfreeze it, and that takes about 10 minutes on 350. Go ahead and get the kids' bowls ready so the beef stew has a second to cool off because it's super hot right now. And then the bread's ready, so we pull that out of the oven and we're just gonna cut it up into chunks. Put a little butter on there, and then dinner is basically ready. There's a nice little portion for a little person. And just as we're ready to sit down, the cobbler's ready, so we're gonna get that out and let it cool off a bit. The bad part about these aluminum pans is they're a little wishy-washy wonky, but we don't drop it. We get it out on the counter, so we'll be good. After dinner, we're gonna go ahead and try our dessert. So we're gonna scoop up a little bit into a bowl. It's still nice and warm, and that crumble on top looks absolutely delicious. Ice cream on top would be awesome, but ice cream was about $5 for a half gallon at the store, which that's quite a lot considering it probably would take about a half gallon for the whole family. So Cool Whip was $1 a tub, so there we go. And that looks great. I'm excited to give it a try. JJ jumps right in. She's all about the Cool Whip. Not so sure how much she is about the pie. Are you gonna try the pie, or are you just gonna eat the Cool Whips?
I'm gonna eat the pie.
JJ put some white chocolate chips on hers too, so extra delicious. Alright, it's good. One thing I will say, you've probably noticed from canning pantry videos, when you're using canned things, the color is not as bright because while it processes everything it's been through. And so, I don't know, like this is really, really good, but I realize that the color is dull, so don't let the color necessarily off-put you. Obviously if I use fresh pears, fresh pumpkin, you have a real bright color, but it tastes just the same and it's just as good. But that's kind of just so you know. When you use canned pantry items, a lot of times you get a dull color or more of a brown color. Well, it's still just as good. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.